A concrete yard inside Calipatria State Prison, a body on the ground, and standing over it, hands shaking, a man named Reggie Cole. Reggie Cole was sent to this prison for a crime he didn't commit. He spent years screaming that truth into walls that don't listen. Now there's a man at his feet who isn't breathing, and the thing they called him is finally the thing he is. The state branded a 19-year-old kid something he wasn't. Then they locked him inside a cage where the only way to survive was to become it. This is what happens when a label becomes a prophecy. A courtroom in Los Angeles, 1994. Reggie Cole sits on a wooden bench, worn smooth by decades of waiting. He is 19 years old. His hands rest flat on the table, still, steady, young. Years from now, those same hands will be shaking over a body in a prison yard. But right now, they belong to a teenager waiting for a word. His mother sits in the gallery behind him. His sisters sit beside her. The room has gone quiet in that specific way courtrooms do, when everyone knows what's coming except the one person who needs to. The foreman stands, unfolds a piece of paper, reads one word: guilty. First-degree homicide. The sentence, life in a California state prison. Not 20 years, not 30. Life. That word sounds different inside a courtroom. It doesn't sound like a number. It sounds like a door closing on a room with no windows. The jurors don't look at Reggie when they deliver it. They look at the judge, at the floor, at the wall behind the defense table. He is 19 years old, and the people who just ended his life can't bring themselves to watch. His mother makes a sound, not a scream, something lower, from a place beneath language. The sound you make when the thing you feared most stops being a fear and becomes a fact. Reggie is processed, those hands cuffed behind his back. He's led through a side door into a hallway he'll never walk back through. He belongs to the state now. Here's what that means in 1994. California's prison system is the most overcrowded in the nation, built for around 80,000 people, holding nearly double that. Violence is constant. Medical care is collapsing. The federal government will eventually step in and call conditions what they are: cruel and unusual punishment. Those are the actual words. That's where Reggie Cole is going. Not minimum security, not a rehabilitation program. A maximum security cage in the California desert, packed past capacity, with men serving life sentences for the worst things people do to each other. He is 19. He has no history of violence. He has never taken a human life. But his file says otherwise. And in the world he's about to enter, the file is the only thing anyone reads. Here's what that jury never heard. A 15-year-old boy on a sidewalk in South Central Los Angeles, tall for his age, wearing colors he chose and a future he didn't. Remember this boy. He'll be gone within the year. His name is Kenny Cole, Reggie's older brother. 1985, the Cole family moves to Los Angeles. 2 parents, 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. Reggie is the youngest at 10 years old. The neighborhood sits deep in the crack epidemic's blast radius. Gang territory is carved block by block, and the borders shift like weather. Inside the Cole household, there's structure. A mother who cooks dinner and checks homework. Rules that mean something. But outside the front door, the rules are different. Outside, the only currency is affiliation. You're either with someone or you're available to everyone. Kenny is already drifting into orbit around a local gang. He's protective of Reggie, walks him to school, tells him to stay inside when the streets get loud. But at night, Kenny disappears. Into something else. Into someone else. Reggie idolizes him the way 10-year-olds idolize older brothers, without understanding what they're watching. He sees the respect Kenny commands on the block. He sees how people move when Kenny walks past. What he doesn't see is the cost. Then he learns it. A rival gang rolls through Kenny's territory. They come in a car, armed, moving fast. It takes less than 10 seconds and lasts forever. Kenny is standing on the sidewalk with his crew. The same sidewalk, the same posture, the same boy from 30 seconds ago. He is 15 years old. He is struck down and lost. Reggie is 10. Forget the gang politics. Look at what happens inside the family. A mother buries her firstborn son. A father starts pulling away. The grief doesn't draw them closer. It cracks the foundation. Within a few years, the parents separate. The structure that held things together, The dinners, the homework checks, the rules, collapses entirely. And Reggie is standing in the rubble, 10 years old, processing a world that just erased his brother on a street corner he walked past every day. He tries school. His family pushes him to focus, to use education as an exit door. But the environment is stronger than the intention. Because Reggie was Kenny's little brother, he inherited Kenny's world. Kenny's friends, Kenny's reputation, Kenny's enemies. Not by choice, by proximity, by family. Year by year, the street fills the vacuum that grief carved out. School fades, gang affiliation deepens, petty crimes accumulate. By his mid-teens, Reggie Cole is fully inside the life his dead brother left behind. But here is the sentence this entire chapter exists to deliver. By 19, Reggie has a criminal record. He has a gang reputation. He has an affiliation that follows him like a shadow. What he does not have, what he has never had, is a body. Reggie Cole has never taken anyone's life. So if he didn't take a life, what was the crime they convicted him of? And how did his name get attached to it? South Central Los Angeles. A man is fatally harmed. He had a name. He had a family. He had people who knew what his voice sounded like on the phone. He is not a plot device in someone else's story. He is the reason this case exists. The system that was supposed to deliver justice for his death failed him too, just in a different direction. The LAPD catches the call. Mid-90s Los Angeles. This is a department under siege from every direction. The Rodney King beating is a fresh wound. The Rampart scandal, officers planting evidence, framing suspects, committing perjury, is just around the corner. Public trust is gone. Internal corruption runs through the department like rot through wood. The clearance rate for gang-related homicides in South Central is dismal. Low public attention, high departmental pressure. The institutional math is brutally simple. Find a name, build a case, close the file, move on. Reggie Cole's name enters the file. Not because he fled, not because he was caught with the weapon, not because a single piece of forensic evidence placed him anywhere near the scene. There are no fingerprints, no DNA, no ballistics match, no physical evidence of any kind connecting Reggie Cole to this case. Zero. What there is, the only thing there is a witness. One man walks into the station and tells detectives he saw Reggie Cole pull the trigger. One man's word, against one man's entire life. The trial moves fast. The prosecution builds its case almost entirely on that single eyewitness identification. One man on the stand, pointing at the defendant, saying two words, "That's him." Reggie's defense is underfunded and outmatched, operating inside a system that has already decided what it thinks about young black men from South Central with gang records. The presumption of innocence is a legal phrase. In that courtroom, in that decade, in that zip code, it dissolves the moment the jury looks at him. They deliberate, they convict. Sit with what's missing. No second witness, no confession, no forensic link. The state of California sentenced a 19-year-old to life in prison based on nothing except one man's testimony. Now, who was this man? The jury saw what they were shown, a witness under oath, calm, certain, pointing without a waver. He looked credible, he sounded sure. But the jury was watching a performance, a man playing the role of reliable witness. And they believed it, not because they were fools, but because no one in that courtroom gave them a reason not to. No one told the jury who this man really was, what he stood to gain, what would happen to his own charges if he gave the prosecution the name it needed. Why was he so eager to point his finger at Reggie Cole? His name was John Jones. He was not a concerned citizen who happened to witness a fatal incident. He was a man buried deep in the same criminal ecosystem as Reggie Cole. Long record, deep gang ties, serious legal trouble of his own. And here is what changes everything. At the time John Jones testified against Reggie Cole, he was facing criminal charges of his own. Let that settle. The man who pointed his finger in that courtroom, the man whose words sent a 19-year-old to prison for life, was not testifying out of civic duty. He was conducting a transaction. In exchange for his testimony, Jones's charges were reduced or dropped. He received favorable treatment from the same police department that investigated the case. He received favorable treatment from the same prosecution that tried it. The arrangement was deliberate, systematic, and hidden from the jury. They saw a witness. They didn't see a deal. They saw a man identifying a perpetrator. They didn't see a man purchasing his own freedom with someone else's life. But the deal, as corrupt as it is, isn't even the worst part. John Jones didn't just have motive to lie. He had proximity to the crime. He was in the area the night of the incident. He had associations with people involved. He moved on the same blocks, in the same circles, in the same darkness where the fatal act occurred. Map the architecture of what happened here. A man is lost. A witness comes forward, not a stranger watching from a window. A man from inside the same world. A man facing his own charges. A man who gets a deal that makes those charges vanish. A man physically present near the scene that night. Every single piece of evidence pointing at Reggie Cole came from this man's mouth. And every piece of evidence surrounding this man, his location, his criminal exposure, his incentive, his deal, points somewhere else entirely. Did John Jones see Reggie Cole commit that act? Or did he need someone else's name to keep detectives from looking at his? This isn't a verdict delivered from a YouTube video, but the trajectory, the proximity, the motive, the opportunity, the deal, converges on a possibility the original trial never explored. The man the jury trusted may have been the one responsible. And for 16 years, nobody asked why. The file stayed sealed, the conviction held. John Jones walked free. The case gathered dust in a cabinet nobody opened. But those 16 years were passing somewhere else too, inside a concrete box in the Imperial Valley desert, where a teenager was learning, day by day, year by year, that innocence isn't armor, it's a target. If you're still here, you already know this story demands to be finished. Before we go inside that prison, take 2 seconds, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because what happens next is the part of Reggie Cole's story that no one talks about. Calipatria State Prison, Imperial Valley, California. The desert floor. Summer temperatures exceed 120 degrees outside. Inside the walls, it's worse. The facility was built for a fraction of the men it holds. Overcrowded, understaffed, organized along racial and gang lines, the administration cannot control. This is where they sent Reggie Cole. The first night, a bus ride from processing, a strip search, a classification interview where a corrections officer reads your file, not your face, and assigns your yard. A cell door closes behind you, and the sounds begin, metal on metal, voices off concrete. Someone, somewhere, always yelling. These sounds will not stop, not in 16 years. The yard is where the real system operates, not the warden system, the inmates system, racial hierarchy, gang rank, the credible threat of violence enforcing every interaction. There are unwritten rules for everything: who you walk with, where you sit in the chow hall, what you do when someone challenges you, what happens when you don't. In this world, the label on your file doesn't protect you, it paints a target. Convicted offender means you're expected to act like one. If you don't, you're prey. Now place Reggie Cole inside this frame, a man who has never taken a life, living inside a machine that runs on the credible promise that you will. Every single day is a negotiation between the person he actually is and the person this place demands he become. He tells people he's innocent. Inside Calipatria, that's a joke without a punchline. Everyone says it. The walls have heard it 10,000 times. The walls don't care. He files appeals. Denied. He writes letters. No response. He petitions anyone who might listen. Silence. Each rejection isn't just a legal failure. It's the system saying what it said in that courtroom. We don't care who you are, only what we decided you are. There's a name on the yard you need to know. El Diablo, the devil. Inside Calipatria, he earned it. He runs the power structure. His word determines who eats in peace, who sleeps safely, who gets hurt. He's not a cartoon villain. He's the inevitable product of packing violent offenders into concrete and letting hierarchy fill the space where rehabilitation never existed. Reggie stays clear of El Diablo's orbit. For years, he manages. He learns the unwritten code. He navigates the politics. He survives. But survival charges a toll they don't list on the sentencing order. Every time Reggie swallows who he really is to perform the version this place requires, it removes something. Quietly. The way water reshapes stone. You don't see the damage until the shape is changed. Years in, he's tested. Not by El Diablo. Not yet. Someone smaller. Someone probing for a crack. A confrontation on the yard. The kind that happens 100 times a day in a place like this. But this one lands square on Reggie. And it demands an answer. Back down and you're marked. Every predator on the tier sees it, files it away. Your life gets harder in ways that compound every single day. Or escalate. Survive one more night. Reggie escalates. It works. The situation resolves. Nobody dies. But something shifts inside him. Something the old Reggie, the 10-year-old who tried to bury his grief in homework after Kenny was lost, would not recognize. This is not the taking of a life. This is the rehearsal. And the years grind forward. Appeals go nowhere. El Diablo's orbit tightens. The confrontations grow harder to sidestep. The space Reggie has to remain the person he actually is gets thinner every month. Then came the day there was no middle ground left. The day El Diablo didn't leave room to negotiate. The day the cage finally closed all the way. This is not a montage, this is a scene. The confrontation between Reggie Cole and El Diablo grew from the machinery of prison politics. Territorial disputes, power plays, the constant chess match of yard dominance. Something brought them into direct, unavoidable collision. A line was crossed that couldn't be walked back. A challenge was issued that words couldn't answer. In this world, a challenge unanswered is a death sentence served slow. This was not a fair fight. This was not a hero's moment. There is nothing cinematic about a man who's been cornered for years finally running out of corners. Reggie Cole took El Diablo's life. Stay in this moment. Don't move past it. The yard. That silence that falls after violence. A silence that sounds different from any other kind of quiet. Guards closing in. Signs of a violent struggle staining the concrete in the desert heat. Inmates stepping back, forming a ring of empty space around what just happened. And Reggie's hands. The same hands that rested flat on a courtroom table in 1994. The same hands from the opening image of this story, shaking over a body in a prison yard. Now holding what the state of California always said they held. In 1994, the state called Reggie Cole a taker of life. It wasn't true. They put him in a concrete box with the most violent men in the system. They left him there for years. Year after year after year after year. And now, for the first time, the label they gave him fits. When you take an innocent person and lock them inside a machine designed to produce violence, you are not punishing a crime. You are engineering one. The state manufactured this moment, not with a memo, not with a strategy, with a system that makes it inevitable, the way gravity manufactures a fall. Pack a man into a place built on violence. Remove every exit. Wait. Then act surprised when the worst happens. Reggie Cole screamed his innocence for 16 years. The courts didn't listen. The appeals boards didn't listen. The officers who walked past his cell every single day didn't listen. The system processed him by the label on his file. And every year inside that system, the gap between the label and the man shrank, until there was no gap left. Reggie Cole is now, for the first time in his life, what they always said he was. The self-fulfilling prophecy is complete. But this act, the worst moment of his entire existence, is about to become the thing that saves him. And nobody, least of all Reggie, saw that coming. The death of El Diablo triggered a legal process. New charges, new attorneys. And for the first time in 16 years, Reggie Cole's original case file was opened by eyes that hadn't already decided what they'd find. New people pulling old threads. The frozen gears finally started to turn. When they turned, everything came apart. The deal with John Jones, exposed. The total absence of physical evidence, examined by people who cared what it meant. The undisclosed arrangement between the prosecution and its star witness, dragged into daylight for the first time. Domino by domino, the conviction crumbled. Each revelation struck the same nerve. This case was never about evidence. It was about convenience. A department needed a file closed. A witness needed his own charges to disappear. A 19-year-old from South Central became the currency of that exchange. And somewhere inside the legal machinery, between the motions and the hearings and the language designed to keep human beings at arm's length, something broke through. Someone looked at Reggie Cole's case, not the label, not the file number, the actual facts. And for the first time in 16 years, the system said what had been true since 1994. He didn't do it. After 16 years of denied, 16 years of guilty, 16 years of screaming into concrete that swallowed every word and gave nothing back, someone finally heard. The conviction was vacated. Reggie Cole was exonerated. He walked out of prison, into sunlight that didn't belong to the California Department of Corrections, into the arms of family who had spent those years waiting, air that tasted different, a sky with no razor wire cutting across it. But don't mistake this for simple triumph. You know what happened between the first step in and the last step out. You know who he was when they took him. You know what they made him become before they gave him back. The freedom is real. It arrives in a body the system has already transformed. And here is the irony you need to carry with you when this video ends. The violence that seemed to prove the state right about Reggie Cole is the very thing that proved the state wrong. If he hadn't taken El Diablo's life, no new attorney touches his file. No investigator discovers the deal. The truth about John Jones stays buried in a cabinet. The exoneration never happens. The system only corrected its mistake because its own cruelty produced a crisis it couldn't ignore. Reggie Cole had to become the thing they falsely called him, to prove they'd falsely called him it. If this story shifted something in how you see the word justice, share it, subscribe, tell someone about it. Because stories like Reggie's don't get told unless people like you press play. When Reggie Cole walked into prison, he was innocent. When he walked out, he was exonerated. But between those two words, innocent, exonerated, the system forced him to do the one thing they had already punished him for. He went in as a man who had never taken a life. He came out as a man who had. The state said sorry. They gave him paperwork. They handed back the years on a ledger that doesn't balance. But here's the question nobody can answer. The question Reggie Cole carries every day. The question the state of California will never have to. If they hadn't called him what they did, would he have ever become it?